Hi, it's Danielle here from Pause Global, and I'm joined by Steve today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Performance Pause, which is a 2-day retreat that we run for busy business leaders to come and have a chance to really slow down, have some space to breathe and some time to think. So Steve and I actually went on this retreat. It was 12 months ago that you joined us for Performance Pause, and it was right at the beginning, or right at the point at which the UK went into COVID restrictions. So our last 2 days of the retreat were the first. It was the beginning, essentially, of the changes and the restrictions. So it was quite a pivotal time that we met. And I'm wondering, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to be, looking back 12 months on. What a crazy 12 months it's actually been. And I thought it would be good just for people to know what you do, and then, just to talk a little bit about what was life like before Performance Pause, and then we'll get into, life after that.
Okay. Hi. I'm a general store manager for Tesco, and I guess before Performance Pause last year, I probably had started already I suppose discovery, I guess, is probably looking for something that was going to really focus, how do I describe it, in terms of kind of really being in a position to be able to really be at my best for myself, so I could be at my best for others. And that kind of journey of discovery started probably 3 years ago. Yes, about 3 years ago, after a conversation with my boss at the time, and had made me think. Really, at that time, is very much around my career rather than my life. It gave me a bit of a trigger moment in terms of what was the next. I was just about to turn 50, and always that golden thing in terms of being able to retire at 55. I was on a bit of a countdown at the time, and probably had lost a little bit of purpose in terms of what I was doing on a day-to-day basis, both career-wise and personally. And so it was a trigger moment, and I started to kind of look for something. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I was looking desperately for, I suppose it was an epiphany moment, really. And I remember picking up your book, Danielle, Pause, and one of the reasons, and I think we've had this conversation before, I'll be very honest, I bought the book as a sense of loyalty, I guess, in terms of we'd worked together before, a number of years before, and I thought, well, that's the right thing to do, isn't it, to buy somebody's book who's out there, has put something together. And I remember reading the book and going, okay, I'm struggling with this. There was stuff around meditation and mindfulness and breathing and going and sitting with nature, and I was like, yep, okay, that's a great book, and I put it to one side, I guess, is probably the reality. And then I came across something called The Miracle Morning, which is a book by Hal Elrod, which talked about, I guess, being able to start your day in the right way by using what he described as the Life Savers, an acronym. And I kind of took the book and I thought, this kind of makes sense for me. It kind of triggered something inside of me that said, actually, because of the career and the job that I do, I've been very processed, and it felt like I needed some process to be able to put something together, and basically describe that actually get up an hour earlier every single day and spend an hour on yourself that will just put you in the right place to take on each day. And that kind of came down to kind of these six savers. First one being silence, which was effectively meditation and mindfulness, which I had never, ever thought of attempting in my life, and couldn't really understand why I would need something like that. But that was probably the biggest impact on me in terms of the power of meditation and mindfulness. That moved on to then kind of personal affirmations. So having some personal affirmations that I wanted to see happen in my life, which then the next stage of that was then the next part of the Savers was visualization. So visualizing what if those affirmations came true, what would they look like in real life? Next, very simple part of the Savers was exercise. So having 10 minutes of exercise in the morning to kind of bring the body to life. And that could have been anything from a core exercise to, I guess, if I wanted to go for a 10-minute run or something, just to kind of get the body going. 10 minutes of reading, which, again, something that I hadn't done properly for a number of years. And to be able to just spend 10 minutes just reading it. And in the 3 years before performance, 2 years before Performance Pause, the amount of books I got through in such a period of time, but very diverse books, stuff that I would never have picked up and read, from stuff about Buddhism to leadership. So just a completely different mix and mash of books, but just really awoke my consciousness in terms of and my curiosity. And then the last one was scribing, a part of the Savers, which is quite simply is journaling. And again, that just 10 minutes of journaling each day in terms of getting my thoughts out, it started a change in my life. And I suddenly realized that those 6 components that were in there were all contained within your book, but had just been kind of described to me in a way that I could make sense of it. I could link the two, which then led me back as part of my reading to go back and read your book, and be able to kind of link the two in, particularly around things like meditation, mindfulness, journaling. But ultimately, the whole thing was around, or led to, I think for me, was just being in a place where I absolutely could, I suppose I'd spent many years being in a place where I felt spending time on myself was selfish. So spending any time on myself that wasn't for either for my family or for my career or my workplace was selfish. So I put the barriers up to not spend that time. And then there was again that epiphany moment that actually went, if you don't spend that time on yourself, and if you don't really give yourself some self time every single day, then you can't be at your best for others. So it really turned things on its head, and then started to give me that kind of sense of purpose about actually being at my best. So for me, so that I could be at my best for others.
Yeah, wow, I love this story. It doesn't grow old for me, Steve. So you'd already gone through a transformation before you came to Performance Pause. You had an awakening, epiphany, as you called it, and then you found yourself taking the next step in the journey, probably as the person who's read my book the most times, I think.
But the reality is that I think it's like anything. It's like when you watch a film, isn't it? You see something that you didn't see before. And I think that's the great thing about your book. And the reality is that you go back through it and then go, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I have read it several times.
And so then you found yourself at Performance Pause. Do you remember what sort of helped you make that decision to come along? Why did you choose to come on a 2-day retreat for leaders?
I think, I mean, what an opportunity. I mean, I think just to be able to take 2 days out, and at that point we had no idea what was coming. We still had no idea. I mean, this was literally, I think, was 3 or 4 days before everything started to go a bit mad, really, in terms of kind of the lockdowns and announcing of the lockdowns and so forth. So I still think at that time we were in a place where we didn't really think stuff was going to change. We weren't going to go into, what do you mean lockdown?
We hadn't had that language.
No, not at all. And I think we were seeing stuff that was going on in other parts of the world, like Italy and Australia and so forth, and madness. And particularly being in the industry that I'm in, it's like, that's not going to happen. There's no way we're going to be queuing to get into supermarkets and stuff like that. So I think at the point, it wasn't even knowing what was coming, but it was just, what an opportunity to just kind of literally switch off from the world for a couple of days, switch off the technology, just be able to be. And I had no idea what was about to happen in terms of those 2 days, but just to be able to go, I suppose again, my curiosity to be able to go, right, this is what an opportunity to just go away and do something completely different that I'd never done before. And what it's only ever going to bring me benefit in terms of, again, and this desire and passion to constantly be at my best.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you took the plunge, which I was, really impressed by. You're a busy retailer, and you took 2 days out of your week to, come and invest in yourself in that way. What was it like?
Oh, it just, I guess from, there's always that anticipation in terms of what is about to happen, but also the people that obviously you're going to be there with, in terms of, what kind of people they are and what backgrounds do they come from and so forth. And I think within 15 minutes to an hour of kind of getting to know those people, it was just felt right. I had to describe it, just felt right. It felt the people were there were there for very, very similar reasons, in terms of just being able to come away from very busy lives, very busy, impactful jobs, and then the demands of family as well, but to be able to kind of just step away and reflect, pause, and I think ultimately, in terms of the words used, and just slow down, just slow down and switch off. So it was there was anticipation, there was the anxiousness of meeting other people, but actually very, very quickly that anxiety went, and you give the environment, the place where we were at, the welcome from yourself and from your colleagues was just phenomenal. So yeah, it was really, really powerful.
You're transporting me back to the arrival, and it's interesting, it evokes very strong memories of me, and the bonds that people created were very powerful. What was your highlight over the 2 days, Steve? What stood out for you?
I think there's so many. There really is so many. I think if some of the things I would never have ever thought I would do in my lifetime would be a Chinese tea ceremony. How inspiring, relaxing, rewarding something as simple as drinking tea can be, but the whole ceremony around it, and again how just being able to slow down and take everything, be really present, be mindful, because that's what that was about for me, was absolutely being in that moment of just watching somebody pouring tea for us and then showing their gratitude to us, and so forth, also being able to give that gratitude back. Another one would have been the following morning, in getting up doing qigong by the lake. I mean, again, something I had never done in my life, and something that I from that moment I continue to. I'm just no master, and I'm probably not as consistent as I want to be, but I've brought, that's something that I use, probably 2 or 3 times a week. Again, as just relaxed. But I remember vividly standing there on a March morning. It was a beautiful morning. We were so blessed with the weather. And the sun rising, and just standing doing qigong as a group. And again, that was another great thing. Everybody was involved. Nobody went, no, I'm having a line, or I'm not going to go down and do that. But again, to see people's inhibitions completely go and stand there and do something so powerful. Yeah,
you're really invoking like goosebumps as you're talking about it from the memories. So there seems to be several factors, and there's the location, which we're very deliberate about choosing places where we can use the environment to support the development and the learning and the growth. And that becomes a beautiful backdrop. And then it's the people, it's like-minded people, isn't it, who've made a decision and a commitment to their development. And then it's the experiences. So we're quite keen not to tell you how to pause, but to give you an experience of pausing. And so that's very deliberate in the way that we craft the retreats, is you get the chance to experience and feel, what is this like? Because often our lives are so busy, we've lost touch with what does that sensation actually feel like. So great to hear that you've kept up with your Qigong practice. Well done you. So tell me about post the retreat. So 12 months on, what is the impact? What have you noticed?
I think I guess is that I'm very mindful in terms, particularly this last year, and you know, I count myself as very fortunate to have been in a position that I have been able to continue to go to work every single day. And some people will have said, you know, I remember talking to my relatives and stuff, you know, keep safe, you know, you're in a really challenging environment in terms of all those people and stuff, but it never felt like that. And I've always felt grateful that I had the opportunity just to continue to go out and go to work. And as I've always said it, and my colleagues have said, we have these conversations that we're just able to go and do our job. But there were obviously challenging times through that. And there were times when, you know, again, because the amount of change that was happening from not 1 week, but one day, the amount of change in a year or a week or whatever it was that we were having to implement, to be able to take some of those practices, to be able to say, hold on a moment, I'm just, my head is flooded, there is too much here. I've got to go and take some time out. And whether that would look for me would be to go for a walk, and because we did quite a bit of that while we were away, again, just to be able to walk and talk, and I wasn't talking to anybody in particular when I'd go and do that, but I would just kind of let a lot of that stuff out that was in my mind. To be able to go to my own office, my safe haven, which, you know, shut the door, lock the door, and just take 10 minutes to breathe and basically, you know, meditate. And again, bring myself back to being present, being mindful, and actually saying, you know, it's everything's okay, everything's okay. I think that's it. I guess the practices that I had were there, but what the performance pause helped me with was, again, to be able to continue to, I think it probably, I know I'm not the right word, but justifies what I was doing.
Okay. Yeah.
It kind of says, actually ticks the box, says you're not on your own, you're not out there, because, you know, again, sometimes it's described to me, you know, by my peers, because that I'm, you know, a holistic approach to things, and I'm a little bit different, and do you know what? That's okay. That's all right. That's okay to be different, because actually what I get out of it, actually other people benefit from that, and that's probably, again, that lesson that continues to be for me. It's okay to do these things, and to take time out to slow down. You know, in the world we're in, and particularly this last year, actually to slow down so we can speed up. And I know you use those words quite a bit in terms of just that moment to just go, do you know what, step back, because actually the way you're going is, if you continue like this, you are going to burn. You're not going to be effective, and you're not going to be at your best for others.
Amazing. It's so good to hear you say that, Steve, and the self-awareness that you've continued to cultivate that allows you to take that step back, because we have to see that we're at the point where we're ready to take the step back before we can act on it. And so the self-awareness has to come first, and you've really begun to master that awareness, haven't you? And then you're free to make choices and give yourself space to, you know, permission to pause when you need it. So I can hear your self-belief around what you're doing is really solidified, and you know, that there's no question about the fact that you're doing the right thing for yourself, even if it's different to how other people are doing things. So if you were thinking about perhaps one of those leaders who might be looking at that and going, yeah, I'm not sure whether it's for me, or, you know, I don't know if I'm into all of that holistic stuff, what would you say to them about performance pause?
Just take the plunge, do it. There is, you'll benefit so much from it. You know, you might, you know, some of the stuff you might go and go, do you know what, actually Qigong by late, it's not right for me. Why am I doing a Chinese steam? All those kind of things. But there will be something in there that will basically change the way you do things. Will help you take that time out to just to slow down. There's just so much of life going on that we miss so much if we don't take that time to step back. You know, we get so caught up in the past and the future, and we just don't think enough about right now. And I think going to a performance pause would at least for 2 days give you that time to stop and think, and hopefully then give you a moment that says, I want more of this. I want more of this on a daily basis, not just a retreat, but actually taking that moment whenever I can. It doesn't have to be away at somewhere, but actually it would give you a moment to be able to reflect and go, that really worked for me. Those couple of days were a time where I could. Actually, there's no reason why I can't now.
You sound so passionate about that.
I am. I can't describe how fulfilled and happy, if those are the right words, I guess they are. You know, I think that we as human beings, we're constantly looking for happiness. We're constantly striving, oh, that will make us happy, that will make us happy. And far too many times we just don't stop and slow down and go, what about right? Yeah, I'm happy, I'm okay. Or yeah, I'm okay, I'm sad. But actually, we just constantly, we're looking for the next thing. And if we keep doing that, before we know it, our life will be gone. And we won't have found it.
Yeah. I'm so glad you joined us on Performance Pause.
Thank you.
I'm delighted that you joined us here today and shared your story with us. Thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Thank you.